Hey everyone, it's Heroscape here today with another update. It's been a crazy day. I don't know about you, but it's been hard to get work done today. Been a crazy day with lots of announcements. Well, one major announcement, lots of discussion on the forums, on Discord. Obviously, I posted my announcement earlier today. This is a follow up. I was able to get in touch with Dadscaper, who, as you know, on the release of the Heroscape, Return Rebirth, he's on the lead team. Right, there's a few members of the community on the lead team, and he's one of them. He's been a very active member of the team for the past year or so, and will continue to be going forward. So, I was able to get an exclusive interview with him this evening, and I will be posting that for you guys to watch right now. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, well, welcome everyone. I'm Sir Heroscape, obviously, here today with Dadscaper, or Ben, a very prominent member of the Heroscape community. You've probably seen him on the Heroscaper boards on heroscapers.com. It's been around for a while. But before I get into the meat of this interview, I wanted to give him an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself, give the fans a sense of kind of how you've been involved in Heroscape in general, kind of maybe a little bit about your involvement now going forward with the project.
First, I want to thank you for having me on your channel, Sir Heroscape. I love your content. I saw the one you posted earlier today when you first saw the announcement. It was awesome. It was awesome. I loved seeing your enthusiasm. I got excited all over again just looking at it. So, and I've said to you privately, and I've said to other content creators, the work that you guys do is, I mean, it's great for the hobby, and it's a wonderful hobby. So what's great for the hobby is, great for all of us. So what is Heroscape? Like, what excited me about it, like for my kid, this is something that I wanted to talk about. It's it's this sort of, it's a mini skirmish game. So you put your minis out there and you kind of take turns, limited by the order markers, as you know, and you roll dice to see how your attacks go, and the other guy rolls defense to see how the defense goes. So it's a really accessible concept for kids. And it's this wild cross-genre mashup. So we're like, my robots are fighting your dinosaurs, and your knights are fighting my cowboys. I mean, it's like, it's the battle of all time, right? I mean, that's it. It's the battle of all time.
Yeah.
And that was so appealing to me. But unlike other minis games, there's not like a ruler or anything, and there's not a 20-pound rule book. The rules are basically on the cards with like a little pamphlet this thick to tell you what you need to know for the rest of it. Right. But I mean, it's sort of rules like, but as you know, because you play the competitive scene, there's a lot to work with if you're a competitive player too.
Right.
All right. So that's what I love about it. That's what it is. And that's been my experience of the community. Yeah. So 2000, and I have a son who's 22 now. When he was 7, you've met him, you've played against him.
Yeah.
At Gen Con. Might have been this Gen Con right here. I don't
2017, 2017.
So no, this is 2014. So this might be before your time.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, so he was 7 years old, and I said to his grandmother, my mother, I said to her, you know what you could get him that I think he would love? This Heroscape game looks awesome. So she got Heroscape for him. And we were playing in 2007. And if you go onto the boards, any post of mine, you can look in the signature block and see, like, I have a link to my battle reports. You can look at some of the earliest games I played with him. I took pictures and I posted them on Heroscapers.
Yep, seen some of those.
Yeah, and started running tournaments in 2009, 10. 2010 was the first one, because the first one I ran was like days or weeks after the official announcement that Heroscape was over. It was National Heroscape Day 2010. Yeah. was running events for years. I mean, since Brad went away to college, like I haven't been running them hardly anymore since then. There's another local group that's going to pick up the gauntlet. Yeah, so another thing that I did when Heroscape ended was I started working. I was asked to participate in the C3V, this new project where the goal of the C3V was to release units that were consistent with the canon. So you would get new units the same way we used to get them. We'd release them in packs, there'd be waves, and it would come from a workshop, so the people on the outside, it would be like going into the Target, like I used to do, go into the Target, see if there's anything new.
Excitement factor. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I've been in the C3V. I wasn't one of the original members, but I was awfully close. And I've been active in it since 2010, in the ERB, the Executive Review Board, since like 2011, 2012.
Appreciate the intro. Obviously, if members of the community aren't familiar with you on the boards, they are now.
I'm Dadscaper on the boards. Yeah.
So and they will be going forward. You're going to become a little bit more in the public eye, I guess you could say. So we're excited to hear what you have to say. So really, this interview. Before we get into the meat of it, I also wanted to cover a little bit of the history of Heroscape. So for those that aren't familiar, we had a good solid, let me just share my screen here. I made a little graphic, so that'll be fun for people to see. Let's see, okay. So Heroscape's history, or Heroscape a history, I like to call it the Stone Age, right? Very beginning of Heroscape in 2004, it's released, right? Heroscape enters retail stores, 2008. We start seeing the D&D age, right, where this goes over to the rights or the licensing goes over to Wizards of the Coast, and Wizards of the Coast starts using their D&D miniature lines to basically infuse into Heroscape.
That was the end of the cross-genre time.
Yeah, and so
there was great design work going on with the D&D stuff, but the cross-genre stuff was going on.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Some of that early excitement of just being able, like you said, robots with, samurai from the, early centuries of the world you're not getting that. You're getting just strictly D&D lore based miniatures. And so that age lasted us, for 2 years before it kind of kicked the bucket there, so to speak. And so we entered what I call the dark age of Heroscape, right? Where for the last 12 years, hey, well, so notice the dates though. The Dark Age starts in 2010, but it continues through the Age of Enlightenment. We'll say that through 2022. I guess I should have put let's see, Age of Enlightenment. We'll say 2010. Oops. To 2022.
We did some good work during your Dark Age.
Well, there we go. So they're overlapping. So the Age of Enlightenment, right, is the community. C3V continues the work of Heroscape, right? The community continues to keep the game going. And we get to a point now where, August 3rd, today, 2022, Age of Annihilation, right? The Heroscape rebirth has now been a reality. So
yeah, I drafted that post that you read before in your earlier video.
Cool.
And so that 2020 typo, that was mine.
Nice. The truth comes out.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, that's good. So yeah, just a quick history for those that aren't familiar with kind of the timeline. Right, the last 12 years, the community's been around, right, on heroscapers.com, on the Facebook group, on Discord, in different ways, in local tournament scenes. We've kind of been word of mouth, right, just kind of teaching our friends, bringing them into the game.
I mean, I don't need to tell you because you're an advocate for the game, but it kind of sells itself,
right?
People see it and they love it. Yes,
right. And so, and that's something that kind of brings me to the next phase of questions, is really understanding how did we get here, right? Because in the post, right, it says we're back, right? And in large part to the community because of us, right? Because of the community that's continued these last 12 years.
Yeah.
And so for everyone in the community who's always been dreaming, who's always been supportive and always been here waiting, supporting the community, how is it? I guess we want to know how. What is it about what we did, and how did it get to that point?
Yeah. So Craig, last summer, I think was summertime. Zorloff approached me about gathering a few people to work on a project with Craig. And it was like, hey, what, are you available to work on a project with Craig? Could not name it, no nothing. And I said, sure, yeah, I'd like to do that. And he said, why don't you gather a few other people? And so I approached a few people, some of whom had time or availability to work on this, and some did not. But the ones who I talked to were Doc, and I mean, the ones who said yes were
right.
Doc and Kevin Dola, and later we found out that Sky Knight was already in, because he, as you already knew in your earlier video, you said Sky Knight was a designer who worked on it,
right?
And yeah, so yes, that was the small group, and then once we signed our NDAs and everything, and we got in, we were told, yeah, so this was going to be Heroscape, and
that's
Craig,
awesome.
And Craig said to me, and I've met Craig a bunch of times before this, like at Gen Con, and we've spent a fair amount of time talking about this and that. He's always talked about what the community brings to Heroscape, and he did say specifically about this. It's the community that's made this possible. Because all these years later, look how strong the community is. Look how much it's still offering to this hobby. So, like, that's how we know that this is something that will draw interest, because
that's
of
so cool.
the community. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we do. This is what we do.
So about a year ago, you were approached by Craig or Zorloff, I guess, and then you kind of, like you said, signed NDAs. You got involved. You started talking, discussing. The team's now together. Help me understand a little bit, or help us understand a little bit, maybe the dynamic of the team. So do you have specific roles? Do you have to meet with more team members that are part of Avalon Hill, I think is the one that's running this technically?
We have, some of us have been introduced to just by happenstance. We're on a video conference, and then there he was in the background. So we've met a guy who Craig works with there, but mostly it's just been us and Craig. It's been the team and Craig. And I mean, we have been, like I wrote in the post that y'all read, we have been heavily involved from the beginning not in the business stuff, but in the stuff that you and I care about, like what are the units going to look like? How are they going to interact? What are the, all that stuff. We've been heavily involved in that from the beginning, and we were asked and expected to be heavily involved from the beginning. I mean, our input as members of the community has been treated as important, very important. Yeah.
That's exciting. Honestly, the fact that when we read the post and we saw, that, I don't know, it's like 5 out of the 6 people were like actual active community members on Heroscapers, I was just like, that's incredible, right? Like, that's incredible that, they came to a point where they said, hey, not only are we going to bring back Heroscape, but we're going to bring it back with the people that have been involved in the community of Heroscape.
I don't know about your experience at Gen Con. My experience at Gen Con is every single year, Craig comes by, sometimes with Rob. I mean, this game and this community has been important to him. If you go to Soaring Rhino, which is the game company he started with his brother, and you look at the professional picture of Craig, there are only 2 games behind his head in that professional picture, and they're both Heroscape.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, so that's, and I mean, and not only that, but I want like Hasbro. Yeah, Hasbro is fully committed to this project. That's something that we're going to have to see. We will see their level of commitment as in the coming months, because there's a lot sort of in that area that I can't talk about.
Oh, okay.
But we'll see in the coming months. I'm really excited for the community to see their level of commitment, what we're going to see going forward.
Wow. And that's saying a lot, because, you know, obviously when it was discontinued and we felt like, you know, Wizards of the Coast kind of did us dirty, right? It kind of got to that point where we said, you know, they don't care, right? It's been 12 years and they were sitting on stuff. And so for you to say that is a huge reassurance. Absolutely. That's awesome.
That did us dirty. That's your language, not mine.
No, absolutely.
I love the designs. I love the designs we got from that era.
Yeah, no, yeah, this is exactly what we want to hear, is that Hasbro is committed. That's huge. So we've actually covered a fair bit of stuff about the team. That's awesome. You know, Craig is kind of leading that effort. Does each individual hold a specific role within the team, like, you know, designer, play tester, whatever?
We've fallen into, I think, our roles. I mean, Doc and Sky Knight and I all have a lot of experience working with design.
Right.
But I mean, so we've been heavily involved in that side, but I mean, I don't need to tell you how much Kevin Dola brings to bear as a guy who can look at things and add, both as a playtester and sort of as a design editor. Like, he brings so much to the table. And so we've sort of fallen into our different roles. I don't want to talk. I mean, I could say that. I can't talk about the particulars of like who's been working on designs and what or whatever.
Sure. Do that. Yeah, no, that's fine. So that's great. So let's dive into some of the questions from the community.
Sure, let's hear them.
Yes. So we'll just for those of you watching, we did preview some of these because obviously there are NDAs, and so some of these questions can't be answered. That's okay. We'll find these things out later. I'll just say,
if you ask me all the questions, and I'll just say which ones I can't answer. All right. That's fine. I don't want anyone to feel excluded.
Sounds good. All right. So kind of we'll group these all together for these first few. Is really the integrity of current, you know, Classicscape or version 1, we'll say. So people are wondering about, you know, one compatibility, 2, you know, is there going to be like a reprint? We know for a fact there were what we call the vault at Hasbro, right, where we had designs, like there was a confirmed Master Set 2. You know, there was even Star Wars Scape confirmed designs that just never hit the table.
That was a Marvel Master Set 2 you're talking about.
Right. Sorry. What did I say?
Yeah. No, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. So here's what I can say about the designs. First of all, I can't talk about specific designs.
Sure.
Or the release schedule. What I can say is this: backward compatibility we are building in backward compatibility from the ground up. It was never a possibility that what we're working on now would not be backward compatible. I can also say what we'll see is a heavy emphasis on new members of the Heroscape family. But I can't talk about the particulars of release or release schedule, but I can share my own enthusiasm for the new stuff that we'll see emphasized early on.
Awesome. So, and this is in kind of coordination with what you're saying. So we know that there's going to be obviously a lot of new stuff, backward compatibility. Yeah. So, and for actually each master set that was released in Classicscape, they had rule books, right? And they actually updated some of the rules and clarified some things. They even had FAQs. So would be interested to confirm, is there also going to be clarifications or new rule sets or new FAQs that are going to basically say, hey, here's the new established baseline for rules and that type of thing?
I think what you'll see is that this rule book falls very neatly in line with the tradition that you have already described, which is here are the rules. They're compatible with all the old rules. Here's a little bit of new stuff also.
Gotcha.
I think, and certainly in that way, it's going to honor the tradition of the game and the community, which you've already talked about. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Awesome. So Gen Con, we started 2 years ago doing ScapeCon.
Yeah.
Because Gen Con kind of fell apart, and we were of the opinion, well, we just want to. Well, I mean, obviously, and it was because of COVID, right? Was one of the reasons, well, the main reason why. And so we decided to do our own things. The last 2 years we've done it.
Yeah.
Now that Heroscape's back, it would make a lot of sense that Hasbro is gonna potentially either do some sort of prize support or hosting events at Gen Con or other local tournaments or whatever the case may be. So I guess maybe cover one, how does this impact our community in terms of Gen Con versus ScapeCon, and then also anything around potential events or Hasbro supported prizes or hosted events.
Yeah, so there's a lot in there that I can't talk about because and the reason why is it's tied into when are things going to come out, when are they going to be available.
Okay.
And what I can talk about is what I can say is Hasbro has enthusiasm for the community and the product. So personally, I hope there's going to be prize support, but it's not something that we were consulted about. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I don't know what the future holds. And as far as talking about like Gen Con versus ScapeCon, I just don't know.
Okay.
Hasbro's at Gen Con this year.
Right.
Not in the dealer's hall, but in the game area. They're there, and Craig is there. And if you're watching this video and can get to Indianapolis or are already there, I encourage you to go say hi to Craig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He may have few things to show you at the gamers
he may
table.
have a few things. He may have a few things to show you. That's exactly right.
So yeah,
I'm not there. You're not there, but we're both wishing we were.
Yes, exactly. Announcement came up, and I was like, mistakes were made. I should have been at Gen Con. So that's good. So I'll just say I'm hopeful. It sounds like because Hasbro is 100% in. We're a strong community. We're a competitive community, right? We hold competitive events. That's honestly what Heroscape has kind of become. Not so much. I mean, it still obviously people play fun scenario games.
There's a relationship there though between those two ways to play. I asked a couple of years ago, Craig and I were talking at Gen Con at the Heroscape area, and I said to him, why do you think, Craig, that the Heroscape community is the best community, because it is, right? So anyway, so I just asked him, and he said, I think it's because it's a game that parents buy to play with their kids. Like, there is that sort of innocent spirit to it,
Yeah.
that there is no, it is whimsical. There's no sarcasm in Heroscape, right? I mean, it's just this sort of whimsical, fun thing.
Yeah.
And I think that spirit sort of brings some of the players to the table who might be sort of put off by the 50-pound rule books that you would get for, for instance, a Games Workshop product.
Right.
I do think there's a relationship between the two, and both, and this is something that you and I started talking about before, both are honored. The new game honors the lore, has its own story. The new master set, in that way, it's like the old master sets. It's a game that a parent could get to play with a kid. But also, but obviously we're all aware now, with Kevin Dola and Doc on the team, we're certainly aware that these units need also, or should also, have this sort of competitive balance.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome, because the other it's kind of funny in a competitive sense. It's funny that the Rise of the Valkyrie, the first ever Heroscape release, has some of the best units in the competitive sense in the game, right? And so
it wasn't. Yeah, the people working on that unit weren't ready for the. They couldn't have known what the crucible of competitive play would do to Raylan.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's a good way to put it, right? Is that for the first stage of the game, you're right, they couldn't have known, right? And as the game progresses and grows, players find ways to take advantage of certain abilities and things like that. So I think we're in a really good spot where, it's coming back, but it's coming back with people that understand the history and the competitive history that comes with the game.
So the one thing that is interesting about sort of the long history of the official cards is you can sort of, they're like different designers had different sort of voices in the cards.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited that I think we're still, what we're doing now is also honoring that. So you will see sort of, they're like different levels of complexity, different, because you've worked with us, that Doc and I have different voices as designers.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's some that'll look more like, sort of brainier kind of units that he loves so much. And then are the ones that sort of tell us the stories that I love so much. And you'll see, you'll see both. I'm very excited for the community that this is coming.
Awesome.
I'd love to see the reception from you and from other content creators today. It made me so happy. Because I've been keeping this a secret for too long.
Yeah, over a year, man. That's got to be tough. I don't envy you. That'd be hard. So good stuff. That's awesome. So one thing that you touched on was the lore. And so we know back in the day we had we had a fun little cartoon. We had journals of Thormund's journals, right? We had on each individual pack, there were bios. And so we compiled a compendium. And so we have this kind of comprehensive, list of all the different areas, and there's a map and all these things, right? So that was also really fascinating to me when I was getting into Heroscape more, was actually understanding the depth of the lore and the biographies and kind of the story behind each unit. So when you're sitting down and you're fighting, a robot versus a samurai, it's not just a unit, it's also something that has a backstory to it that you can tie to, right? And you can fight out that game or whatever, knowing their history, right? And so I guess I would say, how much of the lore is being built out and progressing with now this new Heroscape release?
So I was brought on as a consultant, was my official sort of paperwork title.
Okay.
One of the things that I have consulted on is like building a story, and I've only done a little bit because a lot of that is being done sort of away from us on the team. But when I talk about Hasbro being fully committed to Heroscape, one of the things that I'm thinking of when I say that is like expressions to me from different people about how much they care to get that right. Like the lore, not the game on the table, but even the lore.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that kid in you that looked at the map, that kid will be satisfied too.
That's good, because I still nerd out looking at that map. I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it.
So that's great to hear. I mean, the lore is very rich, and so the fact that that's being continued is huge. So just a few more things here that I've got. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just scraping through my notes here really quick. I scribbled down only a few. So a little bit about the units themselves. Well, I know you can't talk about specifics, but you know, in the video that was released today, we kind of got a sense. We saw some images of some terrain that looked like a little bit custom-y, like maybe some rocks or some trees, some like glowing lava. There also seemed to be units that may or may not have been painted. So a couple things maybe that you can confirm or not is fine. New terrain or terrain types, or maybe new, and not necessarily just new terrain, but maybe new terrain rules. And again, you don't have to get into specifics, but just curious about that, as well as obviously, painted or unpainted minis.
I would. So those are things that I would love to be able to talk about, but
Okay.
I mean, I have a list that I have to. Hasbro wanted us to be able to interact with the community. It would have been very easy because I already signed an NDA. I mean, you from the boards, Sky Knight won't talk about anything, and this is work. This is work that the guy did
12 years ago.
12 years ago. This is work that he did, and he still won't talk about it.
I know.
But Hasbro told us, or Craig told us, that they wanted us to be able to open that door and talk about the work that we've done. So it's not. I mean, we didn't go to them saying, "Hey, please, let us do this." They were in front of that, want us to be able to talk. So I'm glad I have the opportunity to talk, but there are limitations, and one of them is the sort of the release schedule. I can't talk about the particulars of any designs. So painted or unpainted, gosh, I'd sure be asking that if I were you, but it's not something that I can answer.
Gotcha.
What's the terrain going to look like? Same thing.
Yeah.
I think we'll see stuff shared in time. It's just that I'm personally not the one who's authorized to share it.
Okay, that's fine. Good to know, and that's okay, because this is day one of the announcement, so kind of expect there to be a few things that you're like, all right, give it a week, they'll send out another notification. So that's good. So that actually honestly covers, I think, the majority of questions at this point, right? So day one, we got this 18-second announcement snippet of kind of what's to come, and all kinds of questions have come at us from the community, and just trying to understand what this means. I feel like we've covered a fair bit today.
Sure.
We're able to
12 different ways to reach me, right? So take advantage of any one of them. Anytime you have a question, and I'll answer it if I can.
Yeah, absolutely. So so I think we'll call it there, and let the Heroscape community chew on that for a little bit, and hopefully answer a few of those questions. In the meantime, I'd invite anyone watching to go ahead and go in the comment section. Obviously, ask more questions, and I hope to do this. There's 5-6 members of the team that that are doing this, right? Members of the community, right? Kevin Dola, Sky Knight. obviously Craig, Doc, I think is the other one, and then I think that's it. But
You know,
Zorloff.
a person who's subscribed to this channel would see all those just pop up in the feed, right?
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I'm gonna try and get interviews with some of the others to kind of get another perspective from them, kind of how they were approached, and any other things that they can bring to the table. And then obviously, as announcements come out, I'll do my best to keep us all informed. So this is exciting stuff.
It was a pleasure to be on, on one of your wonderful videos. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you again. And I guess this is Sir Heroscape signing off. Thank you again, Dadscaper, and we'll see you guys next time.